Alright y'all, what is going on? It is Black Balloon and we are coming back with another video. Now look, today we're going to take the time to dive into Elisa Lam and the bizarre mystery that surrounds her death at the Cecil Hotel. She was 21 years old and this happened all the way back in 2013. In my most recent video, a subscriber requested that I do this video, and I thought it would be cool to go ahead and change the topic up from what we've been on lately and take a deep dive into this mystery. So I thought it would be really cool. I've never talked about her on my channel, and this is one of those videos where we can all just talk about it, give our opinions, throw out a couple different theories of what we think might have happened to her. Now, we are going to show the clip of her in the elevator, and we are going to talk about the history of the Cecil Hotel, and we will also go over a little background of Elisa Lam herself so we can get a deeper understanding of who she was as a person right before her tragic demise. So with that being said, a lot of this video is going to be, mostly talking over articles, and we'll section it off and get into the theories a little bit later after we do a little bit of reading, right? We're going to get to the juicy stuff about how she actually died and what we think really happened. So in this first part of this video, we'll go ahead and read over an article and get a little bit of background about the story. Check this out. All right, y'all, so here's a little background on the story. On January 26, 2013, Elisa Lam arrived in LA. She had just come by Amtrak train from San Diego and was headed to Santa Cruz as a part of her solo trip around the West Coast. The trip was supposed to be a getaway from her studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where she was originally from. Her family had been wary of her traveling by herself, but the young student was determined to go at it alone. As a compromise, Lam made sure to check in with her parents every day of the trip to let them know she was safe. That's why it struck her parents as unusual when they didn't hear from their daughter on January 31st, the day she was scheduled to check out of the Cecil Hotel in LA. The Lams eventually contacted the Los Angeles Police Department. The police searched the premises of the Cecil, but couldn't find her. Police soon released surveillance footage taken from the cameras at the Cecil Hotel on their website. This is where things took a turn into the truly bizarre. The hotel video showed Elisa Lam in one of its elevators on the date of her disappearance acting rather strangely. In the pixelated footage, Lam can be seen stepping into the elevator and pushing all the floor buttons. She stepped in and out of the elevator, poking her head out sideways toward the hotel hallways in between, and she was basically looking as if someone was following her or she was afraid of something that she had saw. So in this moment, we'll go ahead and take a second to jump into the clip of her in an elevator. All right, y'all. So that was a very eerie footage of Elisa Lam's last moments seen on camera, and possibly the last moments of her life. Now, I'm going to give y'all my opinion and what I think about everything in a second. I want to read a little bit more about how she was found dead. Now, it says on February 19, 2 weeks after the video was published by authorities, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez found Elisa Lam's dead body floating in one of the hotel water tanks. And we're going to pull up a picture of the water tank so you guys can have a visual of how in the world could this had happened. Now, it says February 19th, 2 weeks after the video was published, she was found. Lopez made the discovery after responding to complaints from hotel patrons about low water pressure and a weird taste coming from the tap water. We're going to assume she was up there in the tanks for a few weeks before she was discovered. According to a statement by the chief of Los Angeles Fire Department, the tank in which Lam's body was found had to be drained completely and then cut open from the side to remove her 5'4" frame. Nobody knows how Lam's corpse, floating lifelessly next to the same clothes she wore in the surveillance video, ended up in the hotel's water tank, or who else might have been involved. Hotel staff told authorities that Lam was always seen by herself around the hotel premises.
We were made aware of robbery homicide of missing persons case, Elisa Lam. She was last seen on the 31st at the Cecil Hotel at 640 South Main Street. She's a Canadian citizen, and the reason that we're investigating this robbery homicide is because we're in connection with Interpol on a regular basis, and any case that involves foreign nationals usually comes to us. So right now we're asking your help. We have a photo. Parents are here. They've flown down from Vancouver, and we're seeking to get this photo out so we can find Elisa. Again, she's been missing since the 31st. And she was down in Los Angeles, in our area, just basically for leisure, for travel. And we're continuing the investigation now, and we're looking for your help.
But at least one person did see Lam soon before her death at a nearby shop, eerily named The Last Bookstore. Owner Katie Orphan was among the last to see Elisa Lam alive. Orphan remembered the college student buying books and music for her family back in Vancouver. Now, when the autopsy results for Lam's case came out, it only served to ignite more questions. The toxicology report confirmed that Lam had consumed a number of medical drugs likely to be medication for her bipolar disorder, but there were no indications of alcohol or illegal substances in her body. That gives us a little bit of insight of who she was, in her medical history. Supposedly she was bipolar, and they say that she wasn't taking her medication. This is possibly the reason on how some of this stuff happened. It's very, very eerie. And if y'all paid attention, it said the last time and the last person to see her alive was at a nearby shop next to the hotel, and the bookstore was named The Last Bookstore. Yo, that is insane. That is wild. There's no way, when you see the eerie stuff that's going on around how she died, and obviously the hotel, which we're going to get into the history of the hotel as well, you can do nothing but question whether or not she died the way that they say she did. Now, could this be a cover-up from the hotel? Or could this just be a real, true, bizarre mystery that no one knows to this day in 2024 how Elisa Lam actually got into that water tank and how she actually died? Nobody knows, y'all. No one knows. And I'm going to give, fully go in and give my opinion on what I think. But I want to get into the history of the Cecil Hotel as well, because I'll start going on about what I really think happened, but just what we know so far, there is no way I'll believe, not a day, not once in my life I can live 30 lifetimes, and I will never believe she got herself in that water tank and she died and drowned, and however it happened, there is no way on God's green earth I will believe she put her little self in this water tank, went all the way to the top of the building. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that a little more, because supposedly she couldn't even access the top of the roof, because if she went through the roof and she went through the door, which was a basically a security door that had an alarm attached to it. The alarm would have went off and it would have sounded off to the people that was at the bottom of the hotel. There's no way possible she did it by herself without the alarm going off. But we're going to get into all of that and what I think about it in a second. Let's check out some of the history behind the Cecil Hotel. Now we'll go into the backstory of the Cecil Hotel. Elisa Lam's mysterious demise was not the first to happen at the Cecil Hotel. In fact, the building's sordid past has earned its reputation as one of the most haunted properties in Los Angeles. Since opening its doors in 1927, the Cecil Hotel has been plagued by 16 different non-natural deaths and unexplained paranormal events. The most famous death associated with the hotel, other than Lamb's, was the 1947 murder of actress Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia, who was reportedly seen drinking at the hotel bar in the days before her grisly demise. The hotel has also hosted some of the country's most notorious killers. In 1985, Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, lived on the top floor of the hotel during his monstrous killing spree. The story goes that after a murder, Ramirez would dump his bloody clothes outside the hotel and return half naked. Back then, the hotel was in such disarray that Ramirez's news stunt barely raised any eyebrows. 6 years later, another murderous patron moved into the hotel, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, who earned the nickname Vienna Strangler. In the 1930s alone, the Cecil Hotel was home to at least 6 reported. A few residents ingested poison, while others shot themselves, slit their own throats, or jumped out their bedroom windows. Notice, none of these deaths happened at the top of the hotel. Everybody jumped out of a window. In 1934, for example, Army Sergeant Louis D. Borden slashed his throat with a razor. Less than 4 years later, Roy Thompson of the Marine Corps jumped from atop the Cecil Hotel and was found on the skylight of a neighboring building. In September 1944, 19-year-old Dorothy Jean Purcell awoke in the middle of the night with stomach pains while she was staying at the Cecil with Ben Levine, 38. She went to the bathroom so as not to disturb a sleeping Levine, and to her complete shock, gave birth to a baby boy. She had no idea she had been pregnant. Think about that, y'all. Think about the kind of stuff that's going on at this hotel. 1944, a 19-year-old woke up with stomach pains. Somehow, someway, had no idea she was pregnant, and she gave birth inside of that hotel. Mistakenly thinking her newborn was dead, Purcell threw her live baby out of the window and onto the roof of the building next door. At her trial, she was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, and she was admitted to a hospital for psychiatric treatment. Now, this story I've never even heard. Now, I don't know if she had that postpartum, like craziness, just hella trauma from not knowing she was pregnant and had the baby and just decided that, you know what, I think the baby's dead, I'm finna throw it on the roof. I don't know. But this story is absolutely wild. It makes you think that somehow, some way, she got pregnant inside of the hotel alone. I don't know. It could have been something demonic, something spiritually going on, the hotel being so dark. I don't know. Maybe she got pregnant there and it didn't even happen anywhere else, because how could a 19-year-old girl just get pregnant out of nowhere? She had no idea. She didn't feel anything. That is insane. Now we get into the eerie cold cases at the Cecil Hotel. While some episodes of violence in and around the Cecil Hotel are attributable to known serial killers, some murders have remained unsolved. To pick one of many, a local woman known around the area named Goldie Osgood was found dead in her ransacked room at the Cecil. She had been raped before suffering a fatal stabbing and beating. Though one suspect was found walking with bloodstained clothing nearby, he was later cleared, and her killer was never convicted. Another grimly noteworthy guest of the hotel was Elizabeth Short, who came to be known as the Black Dahlia after her 1947 murder in Los Angeles. She reportedly stayed at the hotel just before her mutilation, which remains unsolved. The connection her death may have to the Cecil is not known, but what is known is that she was found on a street not far away on the morning of January 15th with her mouth carved ear to ear and her body cut in two. Such stories of violence are not simply a thing of the past. Decades after Short, one of the most mysterious deaths ever took place at the Cecil Hotel, which happened in 2013, and that would be Elisa Lam. All right, y'all. We'll end the video off discussing a few theories of how we think Elisa Lam actually died. Now, if you search this topic deep enough, you'll find a lot of different theories, that she saw ghosts, she saw spirits, or, she was being chased by an otherworldly, deity, spirit, some kind of, a a spirit in a different dimension or a person in a different dimension that she saw that nobody else in this physical world could see. It really takes your mind to a lot of places and wonder what actually happened, because some events are, they're unexplainable. Some people see things that you'll never see in your life. Somehow, some way, they were granted access to see the spirit world. Somehow, some way, they saw through another dimension. There's a lot of stuff in this universe that is, beyond human explanation. It makes me think of Bermuda Triangle, portals that are located all around the universe, all around the world, in oceans, in different, areas that are on land, places that are unexplainable by science, simply by the human mind. We just can't understand it. You have to think about it. We don't understand God. We can't fully wrap our minds around what God is. A lot of people can't. So in his creation on this earth, there's going to be a bunch of, supernatural kind of things that we will never understand. And I'm only saying that because her death is such a mystery. And I just can't believe that it was a mental episode because she didn't take her medicine and she was bipolar. And, she thought something was chasing her, and she somehow got to the top of the building without tripping the alarms and placed herself in a water tank. And she was there for so long that the people in the hotel started to basically taste her. Think about that, y'all. The people at the hotel, there was even statements that said when that alarm is triggered, the first 2 floors at the top of the hotel, meaning the highest 2 floors, will be triggered as well. It will also trigger the desk at the hotel, at the bottom where people work. So how could she have possibly got out of the door by herself? There's no way she's climbing out of the window and then climbing to the top. She was in the same clothes that we saw in the elevator. And I don't think she wasn't dressed in the clothes. The clothes were in the water. She was basically naked. So think about that. The biggest mystery is, how did she walk through the door without alarms being tripped? It makes you think that she didn't do it alone, And when you factor in how many people have actually died at that hotel, there's something going on there spiritually. There's something very demonic about it. Almost in a sense as, I would say that the veil, the space between the physical and spiritual world at that hotel is almost non-existent. It's probably very thin, and spirits roam that hotel because so many died there. It's noteworthy that that hotel was an American Horror Story, and the season was called Hotel Cortez. It gave a very good depiction of how spirits roam the hotel because so many of them died there. Others that died at the hotel, they couldn't actually leave the hotel. Their spirit couldn't leave. Remember in the later seasons in Apocalypse, remember that girl that played in the movie with Monique Precious? And I forget her name, but she got trapped in a hotel. The only person that could get her out was basically the spawn of Satan himself, which was Antichrist Michael in that season, the Apocalypse. So I'm only saying that to give like an example of how spirits still roam this world that we live in, especially where so much death happened. And it wasn't, these aren't like natural. These are suicides. Remember, we read a bunch of examples. Serial killers stayed at this hotel. So there's a very dark and demonic energy that sits in that hotel. That's why so much paranormal stuff happens there. So I just couldn't believe that this was a natural death. I think they didn't find anything in the autopsies and stuff like that suggested foul play because it was a spiritual thing. Like it's hard to explain it. It's hard to explain it because we wouldn't know. Like, you wouldn't know unless you actually went through it. And obviously it's not something every single day. The people, when they were staying at that hotel, they were going through these paranormal events. Everybody was seeing demons and stuff like that. It doesn't happen that way. I feel like those kind of events, they're subject to certain people at certain times. Like, maybe her having the medical condition that she had, maybe it opened up something for her to see something. I'm not sure. Like, honestly, like I said earlier, it's unexplainable. So it makes your mind run to a bunch of different, theories of what could have happened. Or at the same time, it will make you accept that, okay, she had a mental episode. Somehow she walked through the doors, unlocked it without the alarm going off. She was this special lady that alarms don't go off when she walked through doors. And she put herself in the tank, and that's how she died. She drowned. She was going through it so bad, she put herself up there, and she couldn't get back to the top. Somebody would have had to help her get out the tank, and that's how she died. She drowned. It'll make you do one of those two things. If you don't feel like thinking about what are the other possibilities, you'll just accept that that's what it was, even though there's evidence that suggests she didn't do it by herself, or at least, to our kind of minds, like inquiring minds, because I think they didn't even really want to investigate it even any further, because they know what goes on at that hotel, and people that probably have dealt with the hotel before know that this stuff is real. Like the spirits that roam these kind of places is real. It's not fake. It's not nothing to play with. And, do I have a complete answer? No, but I think, with this kind of thought process, we can get close to what actually happened there. But I think it will forever remain a mystery. But I definitely think it was otherworldly. And like I said, I think at that hotel at that time, there's just a very thin line between the spiritual world and the physical world. And she may have happened to cross into that line, and something ended up happening to her, because nothing good comes from that hotel. It as soon as the person that invested into it in the 1920s, I think 2 years later, it was I think it was the Great Depression, or whenever it happened, like literally 2 years later, it became Skid Row, basically. So there was never anything good that came out of that space where that hotel was at. And that's pretty much my theory on it, y'all. I'm not going to drag it on too long because, like I said, I don't think we'll ever really, really know the truth, which is the case for a lot of things in this world. But it's definitely, a tragic situation, but it's a very interesting one at that. So with that being said, y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. First time I ever talked about this on the channel, so it'll be interesting to get y'all opinions. And yeah, man, y'all already know what's going on, man. It's Black Balloon, and I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.